I can see if I want anything done on here, I gotta do it myself.
I don't think there's a hell of a lot I can do. We're at the mercy of the computer.
Hey, it's alive.
I don't think there's a hell of a lot I can do. We're at the mercy of the computer.
Got some magic happening. We're bouncing off Russian and French satellites. It may have faint signal.
How exactly are you going to negotiate that? What magic wand do you have? And usually the answer is he doesn't have an answer.
Now that's a cock and bull story if I ever heard one.
How hard it is to admit the truth. Take him to the little room.
Remember he said you can't have manufacturing jobs in this country? You need a magic wand. Remember the famous? Well, I guess we found the magic wand.
If you watch Fox News, you are living on a different planet.
What is your major malfunction, numbnut?
I'm trying to think, but nothing happens. Quiet, numbskull. I'm broadcasting.
There we go, brother. Start off to another show.
I love that. So Ballistic Patriot is back. What? Have we sued somebody? Are we okay now? It's clear we can raise our heads. We're not going to get kicked off again.
We just haven't made any new openings, brother. That's all.
That's awesome. I love that opening. It's just so perfect. Wave the magic wand. 16%, by the way. Industrials are up 16% since Trumpy got back in the second time. Wave the magic wand again. It's called reality, but tariffs and all the rest of it, the MAGA way. But let me start correct. Namaset, Holy Spirit Namaset, brother.
Hello, brother. That's my brother. That's I'm his brother. Just so we're clear. And today we got a great show. Our topics are, we got some funnies to start off with. We do have, we got some talking, we're going to talk about the New Jersey governor's race and actually I think the Virginia governor's race. They're kind of very much the same in some respects. And we're going to talk about Nobel Peace Prize, not in this order, by the way. And then you have, what was the thing you wanted to talk about, brother?
We're going to do, because it's our people's day tomorrow.
Columbus Day.
Right.
Yes. So without further ado, let's get started.
Wait a minute. Tube in check. I got my pants on, boy. Do you have your pants on, brother?
Yeah, I got them on, brother. You're
not proving it.
Yeah, because I'm too tired to get up. So what's
that hat you have on?
It's a Batman Superman hat. Brother.
Oh, trying to get on your.
It's because I got bad hat hair. And,
trying to get on your boy's show, huh? Neurotic, huh?
Actually, John, I mean, if you want to talk a little bit about that, James Gunn has proverbially pooped the bed. He has pooped the bed. And he has done it in such a terrible way. James Gunn has revealed himself to be the ever-loving hack that he is.
For Qua, what is upsetting you now?
Well, listen, John. I mean, we could go hours into this on comic books. I could talk for you wouldn't believe, but there's a new Wonder Man coming out. Do you remember Wonder Man? The whole story of Wonder Man. Yeah, he's a white guy who's pure energy and crazy and all these other things. He's a black guy. Now, according to Marvel's the Marvel universe.
Oh no,
That's not James Gunn though. That's not James Gunn. They raced off. Big surprise. But getting back to James Gunn, I'm just so disturbed by the comic book industry. I'm telling you, I could talk hours for it. But this is probably not the right venue for it. But James Gunn has made the Nazis a world in which they're, was it
Peacekeeper 2?
Earth
You're saying Peacekeeper?
Yeah, Peacekeeper season 2.
The bad guy.
It's just meant for his wife to have a job. The entire platform they gave this guy everything he wanted, and he's turned it into his wife
That's hardcore.
having a job.
Who only just gets drunk in bars, and because she's 90-pound nothing,
She's a girl boss.
She beats up all these. So that's the thing, right? That's actually a thing that happens all the time.
Yeah. I mean, it's just absolutely.
We don't want people hanging out in bars. We don't men hanging out in bars. There you go. They will ruin everything. James, I can't watch NFL without the stupid freaking. But it's real funny. My one of my dearest people I love the most. My dear Sammy, had this great joke after one of her friends had it after the Eagles won the Super Bowl. I know the Eagles won the Super Bowl, but how do I make this about me? Right? You can't even listen to Merrill and Reese on 94.1 and listen to the Eagles without some freaking female interjecting. Oh, we have to have a report from this. Who cares? Why? They have to. It's like I want to create the Little Rascals man-hating girl club. No girls allowed, right? No girls.
Right.
Why do they have to?
No, ma'am, John.
Screw up everything. What?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am. No, it's He-Man.
No, ma'am.
He-Man.
No,
we gotta look that up.
No, ma'am. From Bundy, Al Bundy. No, ma'am.
That's right. But we only have. We shouldn't say, but those are virtueless females. They're not the virtuous females who we all know. We just do whatever they tell us to anyway. But can't we have one little refuge, right? That one little box where we just do nothing and sit there, just looking up at this guy and fishing or whatever, with nothing going on in our head. No, you will bow the knee to the female every single time, all the time, right?
So,
no
brother,
peace.
Since you brought up virtuous females, let's talk about two virtuous females in our lives. One of them who has a birthday when we're recording this today, my wife. It's her birthday. So, and then tomorrow when this will be released is our mother's birthday. Another virtuous female. Our late mother. So just shout out to happy birthdays to both of them on our return to the podcast, videocast, whatever we're calling it, cast show that we've been working on and trying to get out for weeks now. But so a little shout out to them, brother.
We're gonna have to do a whole show on virtuous females because the whole problem we have you can trace back to this, to women not telling other women. Because we can't do it. We can't say to women, nobody's going to listen to a man. You can't touch a man. Can't say anything to a woman anyway. You can't touch a woman. This is all women allowed this to happen. A great Bishop Asheen had said the level of society, any level of civilization in society is all dependent upon the female, the women. Okay, all of it. And so because it's this escape. The loss of society. We just had Diane Keaton die. Who cares about Diane Keaton? I'm going to live independently. First of all, she was
Michael.
She was horrible in that anyway.
But Michael would be, would he be dancing or would he be sad, John? Let's ask that question.
He would be sad because he's Italian, and we like even the chicks. We like the Shiksters, even, right? But she lived independently. That's the problem. It's other females not telling her, hey, you know what? You're not a virtuous female. You're not making a good example to the other females. And you can see the destruction of our society, the destruction of our families, because maybe it is, there's nothing they can do about it, because their nature is nurturing people, right? And they got to nurture people. So they see a female self-destructing and they can't say to the female, you're self-destructing. This is not going to be happy. You're going to die lonely, right? This is not good. Don't do this. Don't be a slut. Don't be a freaking, don't put up with this. Marry somebody. Don't be ridiculous, right? They don't do that. And so, because they didn't do that, all societies come apart, right? But maybe it's their nature not to be able to do that. Well, then they still got to get out of the way of men and saying, listen, when we say, look, you're being ridiculous, right? And the problem is all they do is me to us and demean and destroy men, because they can't recognize virtuous men.
Well,
and they're not into the virtuous
listener, watcher, whatever you may be, you have now we've just added 10 minutes. Our first part of the show has been going from James Gunn and comic books to virtuous females. So we're adding that to the list of things that we're talking in this episode. So please stay tuned for the rest of what we're talking about.
We're still figuring that out. We'll get back to that. But go ahead. We have 2 shorts.
Yeah, we'll
go
come
ahead.
back. Yeah, so let's do the funniest of the funnies today. This one is from Speaker Mike Johnson, who's been spearheading the nonsense on the shutdown, which I think was something else we were going to talk about too. But here's Mike Johnson.
AOC has not read the legislation that her party filed. Okay, it's page 57, section 2141. You can pull it, go to speaker.gov. I made it easy. It's right there for you. You can see the bill they filed would 100% restore health care paid for by taxpayer dollars to illegal aliens. The calculation is about $200 billion. She hasn't read the legislation, and I'm not sure she would understand it even if she did. AOC has not read the...
So well deserved.
Yeah,
and I'm so glad you brought that one up, because I'm going to eventually tie that in to AOC, who is a Haldego, to Columbus. Watch me do it. But go ahead. All right. I'm going to tie that right in. That was beautiful.
So let's get this going. This is for you, brother. This is your John. What's his name?
John Stewart Leibowitz.
Yeah, let's
you don't own it. You don't own that person to give you your country back because you feel that you're this country's rightful owners. There's only one problem with that. This country isn't yours. You don't own it. It never was. There is no real America. You don't own it. You don't own patriotism. You don't own Christianity. You sure as hell don't own respect for the bravery and sacrifice of military, police, and firefighters. Trust me.
So, brother...
yes, we do. And we own you, clown.
But it's just... This is the guy whose party endorses burning the flag. This is the party that endorsed trying to disrupt the soldiers who were marching in the parade to represent the 250th anniversary of the United States Army. This is the same party that has done everything it could that made the debacle, the sacrifice of the last 20 years in Afghanistan. Blew for every soldier that ever served there, who they lost a friend or somebody lost a body part, just thrown out the window because they supported the clown who was in charge, who just wanted to get a photo op. This guy, I mean, I could go on. This party
is not patriotic, so you can't call yourself patriotic. You demean patriots. You can't call yourself a patriot if you demean patriots.
You open the border, you let millions in that are non-Americans, and then you give them access to all the same services that hardworking Americans need.
Over Americans don't get $500 rooms in New York City.
Yep.
You
put them into the front of the line for all the services. You put the Americans in the back of the line. That's what it comes down to. It doesn't matter who they are. They get, if they're American, back of the line. If they're illegal, front of the line. And this is the story of the Democrats. Even right here in New Jersey, under Biden, the government cared more about illegals who came here illegally, right, than they did about the American citizen. That hasn't changed when it comes to the Democratic Party. So
we do own America because we're Americans. He is not. He hates America. Him and his ilk, these materialistic, communistic, socialist idiots, hate America. It is an idea. It is a place. It is a real thing. It's as real as anything else that's in this world. And he doesn't own it because he rejects it. And if you reject American patriotism and American ideals, which are Christian, then guess what? You're not one of us. You are the enemy. You're the domestic enemy. So get out. You're free. It's a free country. You're free to leave, pal. Go with Rosie O'Donnell. Have a much better time.
There's an even bigger issue here, though, John, because the single clear way to identify whether they're American or not is simply what you see going on in Chicago, L.A., Portland. You have neo-Confederate mayors and governors trying to stop the federal ICE and the police from going and collecting illegals from who are here criminally and need to be deported. You have them doing what was done in 1860, and it's no surprise it is still the same name on the party that's leading the charge against the federal government. They're trying to use state nullification, just like the Confederates did back in 1860, brother. And
See,
that is not patriotic.
I'm okay with that because we win on that. It's states' rights, and we're always for that. But this is actually, if you ask me, the biggest troll of all time. This is Trump. Grandmaster. So, you see Barnesy, I love Barnesy legally, but you can't listen to him anything about international stuff or about politics because he's always saying something stupid like, Trump is still listening to the Susie Wiles and, he's listening to this part. Listen. Trump's not listening to anybody other than he listens to them politely because he's a sweetheart and he listens for what they say so he can develop a defense of what he's doing or another further idea. But he's doing it his way. And this is the greatest troll of all time. These people now, Razorfist says that they grab the tiger by the tail and that they can't stop themselves, right? You can't object to, you can't get rid of the Virginia nitwit because he wants to murder babies because he's black. And so because of the DEI stuff, you can't do it. You're going to have Black Lives Matters burning down your house and stuff. So that's the theory is why these cities, that's what their theory is. But I say, listen, you don't get this. Trump is the grandmaster of all grandmasters. He's trolled these creeps. And I just did it by a simple thought in his head because he's this super genius. Like beyond everybody. He goes, well, why can't we have peace in the cities? Why not? It's a civil right not to be killed. Why don't we just use the federal government? If they're not going to do it, that's actually the way this system is supposed to work. If the states aren't going to do it, well, we have the federal government. That's what happened in down south. When Eisenhower and JFK had to send the troops in. Well, what were the Democrats doing down there? They were killing blacks. They were lynching blacks. They were false charging blacks and then hanging them with the sheriffs and the judges, right? And they were not letting them have jobs. They were not letting them teach. So what did he send in the federal government? It's the ultimate troll because he tricked them into exposing themselves that they're defending the illegal murdering of their own people. And black guys, this is the greatest troll of time. He's got to do it one city at a time. You let him send in the troops into. He has every right to do it. Every right to send the troops in there and put all the National Guard on all the corners and stop the murdering of black kids. Why can't black neighborhoods not be murdered? Why can't they be safe going to the store? Why can't they have the same freedoms all the rest of us do? Right? It's the most brilliant troll ever. I'm telling you, this is Trump.
It is, but there's in 2024, Texas tried to put razor wire on the border. The razor wire they put out, the federal government under Biden took state of Texas to court. They went to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court said, nope, immigration is a federal job only. The state doesn't have any right to intervene or interfere or try to do the job themselves. So that was in 2024 when it was Biden. Get to today, 2025, under Trump. Oh, no, it's no longer the job of the federal government because it's now the states, they get to decide.
States' rights.
The states, right. So in other words, they within 1 year, they flip-flop their entire opinion. Why? Because Trump. Because
truth is not a value of the left.
It's not. And more importantly, John, more importantly to them, whether it's truth or not, they have to try to stop Trump.
They got to keep the plantation going. They
need to have their power base.
But people seem to forget that the reason why these civil rights laws were enacted, they were enacted to go after the judges and the prosecutors and the sheriffs down south who were ginning up fake charges against poor black people. They're just walking by one day and then throwing them in jail and then locking them and executing them for no reason at all. So what he should be doing then is once these judges start trying to block him, lock them up, put them in federal prison, and make
John,
the point.
The legislators too, who were making the laws.
Anybody who gets in the way,
locked up.
it is your civil right to be to just like it's. See, the way that the founding fathers set the system up is it was never supposed to be this way, where it's a ratcheting down on the American citizen. The bigger you make government, the littler you make people. They done it the opposite way. Their original organization, the design of the federal government was the opposite. Was to make the government ever smaller and the individual ever bigger. And the way they did it is by they created one of their great geniuses. They created two parties that would then compete for the rights and so the state would compete to give you more rights, and the federal government would compete to give you more rights. And the right here that the Trumpy is focusing on is the civil right to walk down the street and not be murdered. It's brilliant. Yeah. It's the most brilliant troll.
It's a basic John Locke.
I almost wish I was born 20 years from now just so I could write the biography and I'd have to spend the rest of my life. I have to spend 60 years explaining the genius troll of this guy, the unbelievable genius of this guy. And he starts it by a simple idea. Why can't we be peaceful in Washington, D.C.? What can we do about that?
If you can live another 20 years, they say they're going to have medicine that can make you extend your life by a third.
Take 20 years. Well, he's getting he needs his face on Mount Rushmore. We're already going to get the dollar with fight with him on it when he does pass. Hopefully, I fear he's going to pass soon because God can't be this good to us. And God needs to do, and listen, God shows us the way.
God is good, John. God is good all the time.
But we got to step up and do it ourselves. It's not like you can rely on my angels. God's up there going, listen, I can't be sending angels all the time. You got to get up your asses and save yourselves, right? You got to save your own country. You want it, and we can't be relying on Trumpy to do it for forever. So it might be a lesson to us. I've been really good predicting this crap. I predicted, that there was a reason behind him losing the first time. I said we're going to come back better, and boy did he! Again, now peace is breaking out in the Middle East, and we should go on to that, right? Go on to peace in the Middle East.
We should talk about that, but I do want to say, John, we are living in one of the greatest times to live, to be with our party. Because our party is literally packed with people who are competent, capable, they know how to fight, and they're in leadership positions. Right now I'm trying to find a video another video that I wanted to throw in there, but
well, you're the Republican Party. I'm the MAGA Party. Back from the 1980s. No, and basically, Donald Trump just stole the Democratic Party from the Democrats because they're now worshiping the devil, and worshiping the devil is it's incompatible with America. America is something new.
I reject that there's two different parties. There's one party. It's the party that Donald Trump created. It's MAGA. It's definitely that's a flavor of the party. Just like all the rest, and I can't find the video, so I'll just tell you what it is. It's Byron Donaldson humiliating Tlaib. Maybe I do have that. Byron Donaldson. Here it is. It's right here. I should have just looked because I did have it ready. There.
Oh, you can do it now. Or you want me to fill?
Your time's expired.
It is expired, but Mr. Chair,
some,
but you all live here, and you're not telling people the beautiful parts that you do see in our nation's capital. And no, it's just wrong how we're doing it.
Chairman, I think it's insane that the gentlelady doesn't have an argument, but she's going to refer to me and some of my colleagues. We were from the Third Reich. This is insane. It's insane. It's insane. It's insane. Do I look like a member of the Third Reich to you, Ms. Tlaib?
Like Byron Donaldson. Do I look like a member of the Third Reich to you?
But that's all they have, right? That's all they have.
But this is the greatness of what our party is now. We have great articulate speakers. We got Byron Donald. I mean, Brian Donald just nails everything he talks about. I can't remember his name in Texas. He's just great. Wesley, I think his name is. We got JD. We got Marco. We got even we got so many great candidates in our party, And then you look at what they're facing off against. And first off, they're facing off against people who are in their 90s because they're so mad about keeping power. People like
Chucky
Pelosi,
Schumer.
they don't.
Unbelievable.
Chuck Schumer. They don't want to bring up a competent. They don't want to bring up a competent farm team. They don't want to have a competent people ready to take their place when they leave.
Jeffries,
because
the dollar store Obama.
Yeah, they got
sombrero.
Instead, they got these horrible people who are shades of what they were. They're not nearly as strong, brother. That's because that's the type of person they are. And so, did you want to talk about what did you want to hit next? Because I can lead this into something.
Well, go ahead, lead into what you were going to do. You were going to talk about Nobel Peace Prize.
I want to talk about so let's talk about the Democrats. Let's talk about the Democrats. Let me share this in. Here we go. Listen to this. This is on the left. The blonde is the Democrat candidate for Virginia governor, Spangenberg. On the right.
I don't think this is the Nobel Peace Prize, but.
No, this is not the Nobel Peace Prize. This is Sears. She's running for the Republican Party for governor of Virginia. This is the first take.
I understand what you're saying about the voters, but for you yourself, do you still continue to endorse Jay Jones? 15 seconds, yes or no?
We are all running our individual races. I believe
Jay Jones is the one who said he'd rather see his opponents, the Speaker of the Virginia House's kids, little babies murdered than kill some bad guys. Or he's just talking about how much he'd prefer to see the Speaker of the Virginia House be dead, and none of these people are calling.
My opponent has said that about her lieutenant governor nominee,
Ms. Earl Sears,
and it's up to every person to make their own decision. I am running my race to serve Virginia, and that is what I intend to do.
Thank you, Ms. Spanberger. We just want to clarify, what you're saying is that as of now, you still endorse Jay Jones as Attorney General.
I'm saying as of now, it's up to every voter to make their own individual decision. I am running for governor. I am accountable for the words that I say, for the acts that I take, for the policies that I have put out.
Thank you.
I am responsible for the policies I put out and the work I will endeavor to do tirelessly for the people of Virginia.
Thank you, Ms. Spanberger. Ms. Earl Sears, before we get to rebuttals.
So you didn't probably hear it the first time, but she asked her 3 times, do you reject you take back your endorsement? She never took it back. That's the quality of the Democratic Party. This one right here, brother, this one is classic.
Air pollution and other problems, and the state could lose. Get out of my shop.
I wanted to tell you that that's actually incorrect. It's not that it's electric vehicles. It's that if we don't meet the commitments under the Paris Climate Accord.
There's the Porter. I almost do that.
Don't be nice.
Porter, who again is I don't have the video from her when she tried to walk out of the interview that she was doing.
She refused to ask questions from a journalist.
Yeah, she refused to ask questions, and of course, brother, this is the kind of people. Again, more evidence. This is the leadership on the state level for the party that is trying to behave like neo-Confederates.
So wait, are you going to do Mickey? Yeah, go ahead.
Here's Mickey Sherrill.
Parents have the right to opt their kids out of LGBTQ-related content in the same way that right now they can be removed from sex ed and health curriculum classes.
Look, I believe that parents have the right to oversee their children's education. I would push an LGBTQ education into our schools. Parents have a right to opt out of a lot of things, but this is not an area where they should be opting out, because this is an area of understanding the background of people throughout our nation. And right now we see, for example, at the Naval Academy, an erasure of history.
At the Naval Academy, we saw a cheating scandal that kept her from walking in her graduation, just to be clear.
Not to get back to the virtueless females, but that's actually the problem here. And I saw these, the problem was, listen, I love, Miss Sears. Miss Sears is the virtuous female that you need. except for one thing, her debate performance. And there's a comment I got to make about that. So this is the problem with having virtuous females and nobody's calling them out saying, wait a minute, what you're doing is wrong. And the only person that's going to be able to call them out is a female. Now, Miss Sears, I love her. Winsome Sears is great. She's great in a lot of ways. She's a Second Amendmenter. She was a Marine. The only thing wrong with her is she's Jamaican, so she can't be president. It would be a great, except for this one thing during that debate. She constantly interrupted the other side. You got to let the other side talk. It's just wrong. It's just when you it's dumb too, because and that was heavily edited.
Like
what you saw had to be heavily edited just to see that. And this is the problem. We in some sense, the way they've been getting away with this virtuous females rising to the top in New Jersey, in Virginia, and in California, the way they have is because of the evil press, right? And what the problem we all have is, listen, we know not to trust the press, but people still put that crap on, and they still listen to that, and they never get held accountable. The thing now is because of Trump and because of the MAGA movement, it's now breaking through to certain people, but still, it's almost like it's not what they don't know, it's what they'll never know, and they'll never be held accountable to. And that's the question is, and so you can say, you said today to me the Rasmussen poll was showing that in New Jersey, Chiarelli's still down. I fully believe it because it's not breaking through. Because even though this Mikey Chiarelli, as corrupt as can be, she will say anything that the teachers union tells her to say. She's stolen millions in Congress, and it doesn't expect to be held accountable because nobody's going to call her on it, right? And nobody's demanding her to be no Democrats are demanding her to be removed from office because she stole millions of dollars, right? Now, to be fair, the Republicans, Dan Crenshaw, the one-eyed pirate, SEAL guy's done the same thing, and he should be removed for that. But down in Virginia, when you have her partner who's literally, calls for executions of a political opponent in this era when they've killed Charlie Kirk, a completely innocent kid, for no reason other than him talking, not in any kind of fair system where the press would be go, well, what about that? She would be hounded from office, but it's not going to happen. It's not going to be happening because the evil press has taken over. And so you can't just, I fully believe that Jack Chiarelli is down on the polls because, again, we've seen the press and people, at night, they still turn on, ABC, NBC, and CBS. And because they have this monopoly that they don't deserve and needs to be taken away from them, they put on this Pravda press, this propaganda, and running these psyops from the scumbag Obama who let the CIA of psyops reflect back in America and made it legal. And so these people are still in charge and still deep in the bedwork, the deep state, which is a combination of the big corporations and the big government, the worst of both worlds, and they're still lying to the people. It's still not breaking through. So I'm just saying we can't just haul back on our laurels and think that this is some kind of war. I fully believe that that they're ahead because it's not breaking through, because you got to talk to everybody and say, listen, she's robbed millions of dollars. She's going to take your kids away from you and let the evil teachers do whatever they want, chop off their breasts or whatever, and they're not going to tell you about it because the teachers, the dirtbag your school teachers union says that that's okay because they've been affected by the woke mind virus and that they are worshiping the devil, blah 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 blah, and they have to destroy innocence. They're not teachers. They're the destroyers of innocence. They're not the teachers because they're not the protectors of innocence. They're the destroyers of innocence. Rant.
Well, I think you raised some great points with it. I do. Jack is. I think the polls are something that you shouldn't listen to. I do think the polls in this case have a lot to be desired because I just want to point out, even Rasmussen said he predicted, that Trump was going to lose New Jersey by 9 points. He ended up losing it by only 5.5 points. So there are errors that are made, and I do think that there is still a strong surge. And if you want, I can talk about that right now, since we're at it. I can show like if we look at.
Well, technically, we're talking about the Nobel Peace Prize, but go ahead.
Yeah,
Somebody's got to win it.
technically.
Right.
So
Go ahead.
So
Might as well.
So here's Hudson along the Hudson. This is Jersey City. It's got places like Union City. You got Cliffside Park. This is 2020. This is the election of 2020. We can be fairly certain that these numbers are pretty heavily Democrat. Switching to this one, this is 2024, the same area. You can see there's a lot less blue, and what is blue is more lighter, and there's a lot more red, or I should say pink, because it's shifted towards Trump. You can see the shift between the two. If you go back and forth between them, you can see here's like Sea Caucus, and you can see over here in the same area, having trouble shifting, I apologize. You can see that there's definitely a decrease in the number of Democrats voting as there were. Same with South Jersey. If you look here, this is 2020 South Jersey. This is 2024 South Jersey. Same area, much more red, much more Republican vote, a lot less Democrat vote. Even in places like Atlantic City, you can see here that there's this whole area around here is blue. In this map, it's all red, and it's deeper red. There's a lot of deeper reds there than there were before.
The next place Trump should send the troops. Newark, Camden, next place. I'm just saying.
It would be a very good move, because if you look here, here's Bergen County, with the slice of Essex County as well down here at the bottom. This is down here in the bottom left-hand corner. This is Essex County where you see Newark. And then you got up here on the right, that's all Bergen County, from where Ramsey and everything to the Hudson is Bergen County. You jump over to 2024, same area. Newark is still blue, but there's a lot more red in Bergen County.
The problem with this white middle class in those areas is that you're not going to break through to them, because they still turn on they still get the line paper. The New York Times hid the Nazi Holocaust, hid the freaking Russian communist gulags, and today are just in the same business, hiding all that's going on.
Hiding the Chi-Com stuff too. But I will say, John, that I will say my friend Frank Pallotta pointed out to me. He says, if you look at the number of mayors, there's a lot more Republican mayors in Bergen County than Democrat mayors. And that is a big, strong force. And I think what you're seeing here is a shift. There's more Republicans in New Jersey than there were before. The Democrats have lost numbers, and the independents are still breaking hard towards the Republicans because of MAGA, because of Trump, and because we elected Trump for this. The same people who have voted for Trump in 2024 voted for what he's doing. He's fulfilled his mandates that he said he was going to do. He's working hard to push further to get places cleaned up and to get and everything they're trying to do with they have a really strong message with this government shutdown. I mean, I think so. Maybe I am in my own silo or not, but I don't think so. The things I'm hearing, I think the independents are going to break hard for Chitterelli, and the Democrats aren't going to show up because they have a very low turnout, because Mickey Sherrill is not exciting. Jack is.
James, remember, Goldman Sachs, King Murphy, who rich spoil guy, never in New Jersey, not once but twice. So I'm sorry. But you apparently on your show, Benny Johnson, with your boy Benny Johnson with the black T-shirts and stuff. First of all, you said he's handsome. I just watched him the first time. He ain't handsome.
I said people think he's handsome. I don't think he's handsome. I said people think he's handsome. I didn't say I did.
But
For the record, I didn't think he was handsome.
And they're arguing that they won down South Jersey. Well, yeah. You won down in Wildwood, yeah. But the problem is Bergen County. And so I don't think you're going to move that many. But if Trumpy But listen, I'm telling you, his troll is gonna, if he sends the National Guard into places like Camden and into places like Newark. It's the donut effect that happened down in Florida. From 200, when we were watching the elections in 200, we never could beat Miami-Dade. Trump won Miami-Dade, but before that, he hollowed out. They're calling it the donut effect because he's turning the cities over. Even if he doesn't win fully in the city, but unlike Miami-Dade, he did win. He's dropping the Dems numbers down from 17 down to barely winning, and that number is a huge number statewide. So statewide, Pennsylvania. That's why Fetterman is talking like he's actually sane again. He's the greatest weatherman I've ever seen. That guy. But because you can't win in Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania's going like Florida and Ohio were the bellwether states 20 years ago. Today it's Pennsylvania, but Pennsylvania is going red, and so you can't win statewide because Trump is winning in the cities, and that's the move to make. I don't think it is Bergen County. I think it's to make it in the cities, and this is the Trump troll. That's what he's got to send the National Guard in to Camden and New York City, and let the black people look around and go, wait a minute. These idiots are calling him a Nazi, and here he has the National Guard, and what are they doing? They're saving black lives? Hey, wait, they're the guys actually doing it because they have these troops here, and they stop the killing? You know what? Maybe I like that. Maybe he's not a Nazi. That doesn't make any sense at all. And so I think that's the play to make in New Jersey if you're going to win it, because I still think we're behind. But, maybe you and Benny are right. Maybe you and Benny are right.
Well, listen, the corollary I will make on it, and I couldn't find the map, but if you look at the map of the primary for the Democrats, the one county that Gottheimer won was Bergen County. And if you want to go with your cities thing, Newark has got Baraka in it. Baraka lost the election to Sherrill to the primary, but the clear numbers were he won Essex County, which is Newark. Newark is Essex County. So in that case, I don't think the Democrat allies in Newark are going to be driving people to the polls. And I already can tell you the NJEA is not throwing the heavy-duty weight behind Sherrill that they have in the past. I know that from confidential sources, and I can't release them. But I will say that the truth, what I say will say also, Bergen County is Gottheimer territory. He's 5th district. She's 11th district. He has to say, give the go-ahead to get the vote out in order for those mayors and for the Democrat Party in Bergen County to step up and support her. And I don't think he's going to do it because one thing about Gottheimer is he's a smart player. And he knows that if Sherrill wins, that's got to be 8 years that he has to win as a congressman before he goes up against, tries to replace her in 8 years. Or he has to try to sacrifice himself against Booker or Andy Kim. Andy Kim is not as popular as Booker, but he's also, he'd have to turn on the party, and I don't think he's willing to do it. And so I think he's going to, maybe not, I think he's going to sabotage every way he can Sherrill to keep her from getting Bergen County, because he loses Bergen County, big, strong Republican. He can say, whoa, I did try, even though he didn't. He's got these people, he's got Bergen County in his back pocket, in his front pocket, and in his cargo pocket. He's got them wrapped, the Democrats in that county. And you can't win if you don't win Bergen County. You can't, and you're a Democrat, you can't win the state, period. Because you expect, like you said, you expect to get to cities. Bergen County's 1 million votes, 1/9 of the population in New Jersey. It's huge. It's huge.
So are you done with that now, or you want to move on to the next one?
Yeah, we can go finally on to the Nobel Peace Prize if you want.
All right, fine. Peace in the Middle East. That apparently does not deserve a Nobel Peace Prize.
No, John,
which kind of begs the question: what the hell is a Nobel Peace Prize for? If you can bring peace in the Middle East and you still don't get the Nobel Peace Prize, what is it? What good is a Nobel Peace Prize? I mean, what are you going to tell me? Next, that Al Gore got one or that Obama got one? You're crapping me, man. Come on,
John. You didn't hear what the guy said from the Pulitzer, from the Nobel Committee.
What did he say?
He made it quite clear that it had nothing to do with politics. That they, as a group, were in a room where all the pictures of the Nobel Peace Prize winners were around. All the winners are around the room, and it's one of those moments of true reflection where they felt that those people were looking down on them for history's sake, and that when they made their decision on who should be the next winner of the Nobel Peace Prize, that they were that they made their decision with the integrity and the full belief that they were picking the best person for the job.
100 years from now, these people will be known as fools because they will look at Trump's speeches to the UN, and then when his first term to the 58 Albert Emirates that all were gathered in Saudi Arabia, and they will see his movements for peace and demands on the Middle East. And it's real simple. Nobody else could have done this. And that's the thing. Nobody else could have got this done because nobody else is going to do what Trump is going to do. Trump is going to bomb Iran, but not go to war. Not have and say to them, listen, we're not going to kill you, but this is showing what I can do. I can kill you anytime I want. I can run my F-35s anytime I want through your country, and you can't do a damn thing about it. The stuff you got from Russia is crap. The stuff you got from the Chinese is crap. The stuff that you make is crap. I can kill you anytime I want, but I'm not going to do it now. And then he goes to Bibi and yanks his chain, says you're going to stop. You're going to call up Qatar and you're going to apologize for freaking bombing a foreign nation. What are you trying to do, you idiot? I'm trying to create peace in here, and you are trying to start another war. We're not going in for Gulf 3. You understand that? I'll tell you what I'm doing. I'm going to cut you off completely. So he pulls the chain on one side, he pulls the chain on the other side, and all of a sudden, both sides have to do something. And so what do? They have to have peace. It's only Trump could have done this. But if you look at it, there's a bigger vision that he has. He says, listen, why are you exporting this radical nonsense? That's going to stop because I'm not going to put up with that because I will kill you all. But not only that, why are you doing it? It doesn't make any sense. You can have this beautiful casino here. You can have this beautiful resort town over here. You can make the desert into an oasis. Why? Why are you want to go kill each other? And you're all rich. You all want to die because I can kill you at a snap beat. I can send a B-2 bomber in there and kill you at a snap beat. And they go, well, wait a minute. You know, we do have it pretty easy here. We got a great life. We got all this money. We got all these harems going on. Why are we dying? Why do we want to die? Why do we want all this stuff? Why do we kill the Jews? They're Juden. Forget that. And so if you look at his messages to this section of the world, it's like, listen, why are you trying to kill each other when you can have peace? He is the greatest peacemaker, and his speeches are the greatest peacemaking speeches that you've seen in this time. But really, if you just dissect it to what he's saying to the UN just like 2 weeks ago, and dissect what he's saying to the Middle East, you're going, yeah, that kind of makes sense. Why are we spending millions and billions and billions of dollars on ginning up the Palestinians to kill the Jews when we don't care? What do we care? We don't care, right? Why are we all caring about this, right? And we got our own stuff. We got our own problems over here. We got our own things to do. And 100 years from now, 1,000 years from now, Trump will go down as the greatest peacemaking president that we've ever had. Even if you want to say Wilson did something good by creating the United Nations or the League of Nations or whatever, it's going to pale in comparison to what Trump's been able to accomplish. In the 6 or 7 side wars that he's able, one of them being, Iran and Pakistan, 2 nukes going after each other, right? But he's going to, eventually he's probably going to get peace in Ukraine too. And then, and still next year, they're going to, they're come around going, come time around to hand out the Nobel Peace Prize. They're going to go, Trump who? Who? Trump who?
Yeah. John, I do have a video that I want to share with regards to this.
All
Here
right.
we have the chief of the Nobel Peace Prize explains why Trump didn't win. That's what it says in the explanation there.
In the long history of the Nobel Peace Prize, I think this committee have seen any type of campaign, media attention. We receive thousands and thousands of letters every year of people wanting to say what for them leads to peace. This committee sits in a room filled with the portraits of all laureates, and that room is filled with both courage and integrity. So we base only our decision on the work and the will of Alfred Nobel.
During the so I just want to point out, brother, when you want to hear a Democrat speak, you should, or a far leftist speak, you should just expect them to be lying, because there was no integrity, there was no honesty in that room when they were sitting there.
They gave it to the Venezuelan president who actually won the election last time, that Maduro canceled the election, stole the election. And she gave it to, I think, to Trump. I think she's sending it to Trump.
She said this would, he deserves it.
Oh, well, she's very
nice.
Because of anybody who's done more, actually, if there's any one person who's done actually more for Venezuela and bringing back freedom to Venezuela, it would be Trump, because he's killing the freaking narco terrorists who are running all the drugs out of the country. Now, scumbag Rand Paul and scumbag dress-wearing Tom Massey, they don't like that, because we're Luciferians, we don't like that. But each one of those boats killed 25,000 Americans while they're at it. But they also bring all this narco money to steal the more elections in Venezuela that he is cutting off, because he's cut off the border completely. So if you really want peace in Venezuela, you should be giving it to Trump just on those grounds, just for he's doing it. But again, Jesus could come down in the second coming and say, "This is my angel, Archangel Trump. I now make you take your place up to next to Raphael and Michael for all the peace that you've done, because you created peace in all the world." And these fools will still go, "Trump who?" Trump who?
John, he's actually, for Venezuela, he's also and everywhere else in the Americas. He is reestablishing the Monroe Doctrine as the Trump Doctrine and kicking out the Chinese as best as he can, as fast as he can. We already saw that in Panama, where he kicked them out there. And he's planning, Venezuela is part and parcel of that story. So is Brazil. So are many of the other countries in South America, which are being trapped by the Belt and Road, but that the Chinese are putting out there. This is... they just can't. First of all, they can't keep up with him. The man's a monster. 4 hours a day is what he gets for sleep sometimes, and he's just nonstop.
He's literally on a mission from God at this point.
He really is.
Are we ready to go on to Columbus?
Let's do it.
All right. So, of course, tomorrow is October 13th, Mother's birthday. Dear Mother, up in heaven. Greatest, smartest woman ever.
Virtuous female.
Two great woman, one of the greatest human beings that ever live on the planet. One of the super geniuses of the planet. But Columbus was actually one of maybe the 5 top super geniuses of all time. Like there goes Jesus, and Jesus was a super genius beyond humans, because you can just read in any Bible his red words, and nobody can match those words, right? And the things that he said are matchless. But if you're looking for deeds and actions of human beings, you have to put in there, obviously Shakespeare, because of the impossible amount of work he did, and how good it is, Dickens, Newton, unbelievable what he did, and you got to throw in Gutenberg because of what he did. So much of what he did. I don't know, he was a genius, but I don't know if he was a super genius, but you got to do just because of what he did. And then you got to put in Columbus in there. Super genius beyond genius. It's like God appointed him to do this, and he had to give him extra intelligence, because only that kind of intelligence could do what he did, which was literally impossible. The greatest navigator of all time, bar none. He never got around the world. That's okay. He did more than that, because he did the impossible. So what he did was so impossible to do. So remember, at that time they had no map. Hold on for a second. I got to turn the heater off. At that time they had no. Oh look, tuba check. Hold on, tuba check. At that time They didn't have a map. They didn't have any maps. There weren't any good maps. There weren't any actual sizes of how big the Earth was. There wasn't any astrolabe or any kind of any kind of seeing where you are, you know, from the night sky, other than we think he might have used like a card to see like where things. There was no there was understanding that the world was round. There was understanding that the world that there were planets up there, but there was no understanding about the actual universe other than spots in the sky. There was no way to tell how fast the current was going. There's no way to tell how fast the wind was going. There's no way to tell how fast his boat was going that he was in. And yet he could measure the speed by him watching it somehow, and he kept a rate in his mind, which is absolutely amazing. But it was also the super genius of knowing things that he didn't even know. Like he goes up to the north, he can see the Atlantic Ocean going one way, right? He comes down to the middle, sees it not going anywhere, goes down south to Canary Islands and sees it going the other way, right? And so he can see this in his mind, and because he did that, what he didn't know, what came to be known is there's a thing called the Saragossa Sea in the middle of it, where you're becalmed and where you can literally sit and die because there's no wind. The wind blows one way, and then the wind blows the other way down south. And so he saw that, and he knew that. He was so accurate. He went across 4 times, and he was so accurate in his navigation that the 3rd time, I think, or the 4th time, he went back south, like way south than he did he was trying to hit Jamaica, and he was 100 miles off, and he kicked himself because he was 100 miles off with no maps, right? Unfreaking believable. He only ran aground twice, once on purpose because the boat was eating out from the worms underneath him, and once because he had to go to sleep eventually, and the guy who was in charge didn't know what he was doing, and he could because he could read the ocean because he was a super genius beyond a super genius. Actually, otherwise would avoid shoals and stuff like that. Absolutely super genius. We know he's a super genius because his son was also a super genius. He was this great cartographer and great map maker and great librarian, and one of the greatest librarians of all time. Matter of fact, every time you go into a library and you see the books this way instead of being up and down, that's not him. So his son was a super genius. And so now he's coming. They've done nothing but started bad-mouthing him over the years because this is a political thing. This has nothing to do with facts. The actual history is at that time, he was bad-mouthed by his rivals because of a couple things. Number 1, he was Italian. And number 2, he was a commoner. Right. And number 3, it's just like Mozart and Salerno. Right. They hated his brilliance. Right. They couldn't stand his brilliance. And so he had detractors at that time. Remember, so he was as Italian and a commoner, and they had a totally different system. They had royalty, but they didn't have it the way they did, the way the Spanish did. The Spanish had these things called hidalgos, which are rich, spoiled, useless, evil, minor lords. Think AOC. That's a perfect example. Think Cortez, right? These are conquistadors, right? They abide by no law because they throw a law unto themselves, right? And so he went over there first time. He told him, and he had the problem. Though he's an Italian, he's a foreigner, he's a commoner, and he's put in charge. He's the admiral. He's admiral of everything. And so they start killing the Indians. So he lynches a few of them. I mean, he didn't want to, but he had to make a point. I told you to stay away from leave the Indian women alone. You rape them. I'm gonna have to rape. I'm gonna have to freaking hang you. And so he did that a few of them. And the dirtbag Hidalgo that was in charge of the next fleet arrested him, put him in chains, and sent him back to Spain. Again, he is a foreigner. He's Italian and he's a commoner.
Can you just mention as you're going through where the left has like altered the story, where people like
there was a dirtbag fake historian by the name of Zinn, Howard Zinn, right? He was a communist pig, probably running propaganda. I forget. I did a deep dive one way back when. He was definitely a molester of young women. But he was also a communist pig. And so one of the things as a communist pig is the Frankfurt School. So the Ginos and the anti-Semite Jews who are anti-Semites against the religious Jews and bigots against Christians, right? They come over in the Frankfurt School and they take over the universities, right? And they create the woke mind virus, right? Which is this materialism and it's this hatred towards Christianity, hatred towards actual Judaism, And of course, hatred to America, because America is the most religious country in the world, and it is there's nothing new on the face of the sun except the life of Christ and the political expression of that, which is the United States of America. So they hate America, and so he, as a professor, lies about one of the things that Columbus says when he finds the Indians, and he comes around shore and says, "These are great people. They will make great servants of Christ," right? And so he immediately recognized that they were human beings, which it took the Catholic Church a little while to get around to that, right? And the Catholic Church, to its credit, said these are human beings, even though they look different. Our job is to baptize them and catechize them, so to teach them rights of Christ. And so that's what he said when he said the service. Well, he lies about that, cuts that speech off, and he says, "Oh, look, he turned them into slaves." Now he did make some slaves, and what happened was this: he had these nice sweet Indians. The first ones, the Tallahassee, when he came into them, right? But there were other islands, and they had all these scars on them. And so he would come up to an island, and they would have some of these Indians, and they would be fat, and they would ask, they would not run away. Some of the Indians ran away, some of the, like 3 or 4 of them would not. And they go, "Why aren't you running away?" And we go, "Well, these Indians stole us." And they go, what were they going to do with this? Well, they're fattening us up so they can eat us. And the Caribs were the Indians who were eating the other Indians. And so Columbus didn't believe this, but then it's reported in one of his doctor reported, but then they found a human neck on the grill on one of these Indian islands. And so they said, okay, these are the bad Indians. And so they caught a bunch of them. And so what do? We can't let them loose, because if we let them loose, they're gonna eat the good Indians. So he, quote, made them slaves with the idea that they'd be freed eventually once they learn the way of Christian ways, and that you don't eat people. So other than killing them, he had no other alternative. Sometimes there are no good answers. So that's the comedy. That's the slander against Trump. Against Columbus. I keep making that because it's the same thing. Against Columbus, that he was a slave keeper. Now, he wasn't a slave keeper. You had these dirtbag Haldegos like Lacasia, who was he was reportedly a Spanish priest, but he was a Haldego, rich, spoiled nobility, right? Who hated he was a foreigners, and of course, Columbus had to be demonized because him and his sons were a force in the sense that he's done this amazing thing. But if you read the actual first person evidence from his son, his son, who was actually on the 4th voyage, if you read the actual his words, because we have Columbus's words, you realize that this man was a saint. He was an absolute kind, sweet saint. He was actually like a third level Franciscan, and he was actually buried in the Franciscan cross because he was a layperson Franciscan. So he would take an vow of poverty and lived his life as a Franciscan monk. And his whole goal was to get the money. He was going to get a lot of money, but not for himself, because like I said, he was a Franciscan. Is he wanted to create a passageway to Jerusalem and to the Holy Land, because remember, at this time the Ottoman Empire was in ascendancy, and you couldn't get through the Middle Ages, and you couldn't get through the Mediterranean, and Constantinople was going to fall. Then even the Italian city-states would be at risk, and it would be 100 years while the inevitable wash across of Islam has wiped out all these Christian communities that we never got back. And he was going to take a way around that to get around to come into the Holy Land from the other side. So that's why he wanted this so-called money. But Howard Zinn and company, they hate America, and they have to destroy everything American. And so they call him a racist. And one historian has pointed out, well, wait a minute, he created the first another whole race. You call it as Hispanic. Hispanic is somebody who is of Spanish descent and Indian descent. He created a whole race. So all you Hispanics out there, you can thank Christopher Columbus, for that too. America, he truly was the first American, because he was common born, and he was totally merit-based, self-taught, and totally merit-based, and he was so freedom-loving. And so freedom-loving that he was, again, free to dedicate his life to this mission that God put into his heart to achieve. So read the first person. Read his words. Read the first person of his son. Don't read these crapheads like La Casa and all the rest of them and their fake biographies that come along years later to demonize him and his faction, the faction of people in the Spanish court that were still on Columbus's side because of the amazing, impossible thing that he done. But there is few greater human beings in all of human history. Like I said, probably the top 5 or 10 that you would have to rank him in. And then now you can give us the history of why he's big in America if you want, because that was always your thing.
No, I
lynching.
wasn't really.
Remember the lynching?
That. Well, the way I remember it, in my memory, I'm sure there'll be people out there who can correct me on this, but the way I remember it, the entire Columbus Day, and just so we're clear, Meloni, the Prime Minister of Italy, thanked President Trump just a couple days ago for reestablishing Christopher Columbus Day back into the calendar. The way I remember it, in Louisiana, there was a crime that was happening, or somebody was raped or murdered, and Italians got blamed for it because the way that it was seen by the discrimination period of the between in the early 20th century, the lowest of the low. Sure, you got you had the no Irish need apply, but you also had no Italians need apply. Italians were grease balls. We were garlic eaters. I mean, you can hear garlic eaters in It's a Wonderful Life. Potter calls the Italians garlic eaters, right? And you can see it right there, the discrimination against Italians because we were considered, half black. That's the way they saw us, half black, and they hated black people, especially there in the South, and the Jim Crow laws. So, in fact, if you watch the Green Book about, I can't remember. Again, I apologize, I can't remember the black musician who was traveling the South. He needed a driver, and he hires Vigo. What's his name? I can't remember the actor.
You say Aragon from Lord of the Rings.
Right. Yeah. Hires him to
Aragon.
To be his driver. But the guy plays an Italian, and they drive through the South. And even though he's a white guy, he's still Italian. So
did he have a sword?
Looked down upon. Yeah, without the sword. But he's Italian. And actually, if you really want to get, I actually met his son. His son passed away recently, but I met his son when I was running for office, and he's a nice guy. He was a nice guy, a real nice guy.
Get on to the lynching.
Oh, sorry.
and they lynched Italians, right?
So the Italians were. My whole point was the Italians were scum to the Democrats in the South, especially in Louisiana. And so immediately they saw the rape, and there was they blamed the Italians. I believe it was 4 Italian guys were lynched on the spot.
18.
Huh? Was it 18? 18? I apologize again.
13 to 18. So, some people say 18.
So they were lynched. They were lynched in Louisiana, and there was a number of other lynchings around the South too of Italians. So in order to mollify the Italians, because there were so many of us in the States at the time, the government passed the Christopher Columbus Day, celebrating the discovery of America, and that has now been warped into Indigenous Peoples Day because everyone wants to blame Columbus for the death of millions of people who were natives here, and that's simply wrong. I make this very plain. When the things that killed the natives, the Indians, whatever you want to call them, that were here, is the same diseases that killed Europeans during the Black Death, and the multiple other plagues that passed from China through the Mideast, India, up and through Africa and into Europe. It's the same diseases that killed off millions upon millions of white, Asian, Indian, actual Indians, Middle Easterns. It killed all those people, and no one's crying for them and saying they deserve a whole continent. The point that I'm trying to make is disease is, as everyone who lived through COVID should know, part of the nature of being a human being. And you can't blame an individual person for that whole entire thing. You can't wall off the Atlantic and expect no one to travel across it and meet people and then therefore spread the disease. And I know people like to spread
unless your name
stories.
Unless your name is Fauci.
Unless you're Fauci. Yeah.
And you have a lab in China that you're paying for money to weaponize.
Right. No, that's a good point. That's a great point. I apologize. I see the hole in my logic right there. But no, I mean, but you can't. It's stupid to say that, and it's even dumb to say that they handed them blankets that they knew were infected.
Right.
They had no idea about germ theory. There was
they got syphilis back to Europe. They gave syphilis back to Europe. So
But to think that the Europeans had germ theory in their part of their teachings.
Right. Was Fauci alive back then? I don't know.
Yeah. It's just dumber than a stump on in a field. It's just dumb because they didn't have germ theory. I mean, for crying out loud, let's talk a little bit more history. James Garfield died not because he was shot by a bullet. He died because his doctor was sticking his dirty, filthy tools and instruments into the man's wound, reinfecting him over and over again because they didn't, at that point, they were just starting to say, well, maybe there's something connected to people who get infections and germs. Maybe we need to clean the wounds. That's when Louis Pasteur was around. And so you're not going to get me to believe that 300 years before that, or 400 years before that, Christopher Columbus and all the explorers knew that germ theory when they didn't even know it during President Garfield's term in the 1880s. So I call as my late father would say, horse manure, or what was his other one? Bovine manure to you. Bovine manure to you.
Two more points on that. All these woke tards bitching and moaning about how evil Christopher Columbus is. Right. That guy gets himself back and forth across the ocean 4 times. 4 times, right? With no maps and no instruments, right? And these clowns can't even change their tire on their car and get across town without Uber or the stupid computer on the phone. Why are we listening to morons like 1619 and these fools? Right.
They can't even get out of their parents' basement.
Right. And why are we? Well, what's wrong with being in your parents' basement? I love that. Anyway, one little side note about these fools and these liars, right? So because it was the same crap back then as it is today. The impact of ideology versus and your own stupidity versus that'll get you killed, right? Versus reality. So on his third, so he goes across. He gets there. They arrest him on this side. They send him across in chains. He gets there, and Ferdinand and Isabella go, "That's horrible. You can't do that to Columbus. He's the greatest human being of our age, right?" So they take him out of chains. They give him a boat. And they send him. They send him back across. He said, "Listen, don't go back to where they all are. Go do some more exploring." But because he's Columbus, he's going to do whatever the hell he wants. He's Columbus. He goes back to the island, right, to his first island, Hispaniola. And so he's going back there because he sees a big hurricane coming, and he sees a fleet, one of the fleets coming out with his enemies, and the guys who arrested him. He said, "Listen, there's a hurricane coming. right? We all gotta go back to the port. These things are bad. Now I've survived them out there in the Atlantic Ocean because I'm Columbus, but you guys have no idea what you're doing, right? And they go, oh no, you can't go back into our ports, and we don't care what you say. You're no good. You're just Italian. You're just low class. You don't know what you're doing. We're so much smarter than you because we're Haldegos. We're AOC. Right. And so, and Columbus is going, no, a hurricane's coming. We got to get the hell out of here. So anyway, they say no. So he goes off, and he's Columbus. He survives the hurricane because he's freaking Columbus, right? The whole fleet gets wiped out. All 30 ships, 29 ships, except for one with all his stuff on it. And so that gets the only ship that gets back. And that actually started one of the slams against him was he had witchcraft. And he damned his fleet. He didn't do that. This is just common sense versus reality, right? Common sense and reality versus ideology of the stupid left, there's always of the stupid deceiver, of the stupid evil one, right? This fool down there is always trying to trick us into our own arrogance and our own stupidity. It worked great with the Haldegos. It works great with AOC. But when pro tip to the universe, when frickin' Christopher Columbus shows up and says, "Hey dudes, there's a hurricane behind me. We got to go into report." Do whatever he says. He knows what he's doing, clown. I swear to God. And that's where we are today, right? That's where we are today. We got a bunch of clowns running around, so freaking arrogant. They think they know what they're doing. They got no clue. The president is only the presider. His job is to get the hell out of all our way. We're Americans. God's put dreams in our hearts. We're supposed to follow our dreams. And the government's supposed to get out of our way so we can create this great marvel of America that we have to go continue to do and save the world so we can then go on to save the universe or whatever else God has us to do. But
I'm telling you, we're right. I mean, I know this is one of the topics that we were going to discuss, but like, you look like the stuff that Elon Musk is doing with SpaceX. He's going to be refueling a ship in space, first time ever, next year. He's doing that within 12 months. He's going to be doing that, which is the next step to going back to the moon and going to Mars. He's going to fulfill his commitment to doing that. He's going to land a Starship. I was just watching this video on it, and I got to tell you, John, I mean, things are going forward.
People say government can
America to live.
People say government can, they want to rely on government. Government can't do crap. It screws up everything it touches. It screws up.
It can't do shit, John. It can't do shit.
They got this thing called the SRL, which is big giant rocket. It's Elon Musk guy's Starship rocket. They've launched one of them in 20 years. They started with the shuttles over used engines, right? Elon's put up 11 of these damn things or 10 of these damn things in the last year. In the last 2 years, and he's going to keep doing it until he gets it right. And he has figured it out where they can't. He's actually, with his medium-sized rocket, has put more stuff in, more tonnage in orbit. The entire, and all they love, Barnes and all these other people love the Soviets.
The Dragon rockets.
His medium-sized rocket. He's a medium-sized rocket that lands on its not the Dragon. The Dragon capsule is the one that's manned. It goes back and forth. His medium-sized rocket is the one that lands on its little stilts. It's not gonna be caught out of the arms like the big like Trump says, dip like a baby, grab it like a big baby. No. His medium-sized rocket in the last 2 years has launched like 400, 500 times. It's put more payload into space. The entire Soviet scumbag union's Soyuz program. Oh, I know Barnes and everybody else loves the Soviets and the Russians. Russian
you don't like Barnes too much, brother. You don't like Barnes too much.
No, I love him. He's a great lawyer, but he sucks in the international world, and he just want to lollipop like the damn Russians. It's like no. But Trump, but Elon has put more into space with his medium-sized rocket, not even the big rocket, which he hasn't figured out yet. Which, like you said, in 2 years, he might have one on the moon, but he also might have one on Mars, which will be a hell of a thing because of the window he's shooting for. Absolutely amazing to watch. But again, God has put dreams in his heart, and he is following those dreams. And our job is to get the hell out of his way. Like he says, there's a thing, he said for 2 months, his big giant rocket sat on a pad with nothing to do. And he said because he couldn't get the clearance from Washington, because Washington has said, oh, there's a puddle here, and it's an environmental hazard. And he's like, well, wait a minute, there's a Gulf out there. That's water. There's water out there. Why do I have to pay $100,000 for this puddle right here? And he said, oh, no, you got to pay. And he said, how the hell can it be easier for me to build a big, giant freaking rocket than it is for me to get paper from one desk, which they're faxing, by the way, over to another desk to get clearance to launch the goddamn thing? And this is government in our way. And he said, this civilization could die. And the aliens will come in here and go, yep, we find another one of these one planet civilizations. We go, what happened? What happened? What happened? And they'll send down their archaeologists and they'll send down their historians and they'll investigate it all. And they go, look, they found a big giant rocket. They almost made it to space. What happened? And then they'll dig up all the, the rubble of our civilization, all through the trash. And they go, oh, paperwork killed the Earth. Exactly.
Brother, he's going to, I think Elon Musk, he's so upset with Netflix right now that I think he's going to buy something like Redbox and he's going to turn into some kind of like, it can't be Xflix because that just won't work, but it has to be something. It'll be something that will dominate Netflix. And he'll just, because he's not going to buy, Netflix is far too expensive, so he'll just beat him in the market like he's doing with Boeing and all the rest of them.
He's the modern day Ford. He's the modern day Henry Ford. He's really he's saving the masses because he's going to be given his Starlink is now funding the big effing rocket, right? And so what he's doing is now the Starlink program that he's doing, where you get free internet, you get internet, but without any wires. Wire-free internet is now funding to the degree that it's now more funding than the NASA is actually funding than the federal government is funding NASA. That's how amazing he's doing it. That's how amazing he is. He's using one to pay for the other because he's got these dreams, and these are America is God's put dreams in our hearts. Our job is to take the steps of faith to march those dreams. And those dreams might be something like, ooh, I just want to have kids. Or as our great, wonderful cousin, another virtuous woman, great Christine, sweetheart, great Christine said to me one day, I just want to talk about virtuous woman, completely virtuous woman. She says, I just want to be a mom and be a wife. Is that really such a bad thing? And I said, oh, no, my dear, you are one of the greatest women I know, right? Because that's everything. That is literally everything. Women create society by creating the family, and all you're seeing now is the destruction of that, right? By government, by the woke-tards, and by this hatred, these haters, the haters in the schools and the universities that have been infected by this mind virus that hates humanity, that hates human beings, that hates the family, that hates America, because these are all the good things in life. Jon Stewart, you dirtbag, you're one of them. You're on that side. You come convert to America, become an American, jerk. Love America.
And there we are, ladies and gentlemen, full circle back to Jon Stewart.
The weave. The Trump weave.
I think that's where we can call it for the night. We're now at almost an hour and 25 minutes. For those of you who have been keeping track of the clock, I think it's time to turn it in, brother, at that point. So just remember, it's all good.
Because God loves you.
Because God loves you. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next time.
I don't think there's a hell of a lot I can do. We're at the mercy of the computer.
Got some magic happening. We're bouncing off Russian and French satellites. It may have faint signal.
How exactly are you going to negotiate that? What magic wand do you have? And usually the answer is he doesn't have an answer.
That's a cock and bull story if I ever heard one.
How hard it is to admit the truth. Take him to the little room.
Remember he said you can't have manufacturing jobs in this country? You need a magic wand. Remember the famous? Well, I guess we found the magic wand.
If you watch Fox News, you are living on a different